Hey everyone, my name is Barry Rapkin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Identified Technologies, and it is my pleasure to speak with you today. We're going to be talking about the return on investment of drones, what that ROI looks like. And just to take you through the agenda for the day, we're going to start with just the basics that everyone should know about drones, how drones are benefiting your specific industry. I've already heard in the chat box today from people in mining, in gas and energy, in earth moving. So kind of what specifically it can do for you across fields. We're going to talk about what the real ROI of drone mapping is, specifically focusing on the business impact for leadership. And then we're going to just open it up for general audience Q&A. Anything you want to ask is fair game. And then give you a special limited time offer just for live attendees. So we'll jump into it. But if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat box below the video at any time. And we'll either get it during the presentation or we'll get it during the Q&A after. So first off, basics about drones. What was the past? What's the present? So remote control planes and helicopters are decades old. They've been around for a long time. So why all of a sudden, just in the last couple of years, have you seen this huge interest in drones? Well, the reason is, I don't know if you ever played with RC planes or helicopters as a kid, but this was the common RC user experience. They're a flimsy toy, they're paper, they're plastic, they're cardboard. You have a little fun with it, but gust of wind hits it and it goes down. You can't do anything useful with it. It's not reliable, and it's just sort of a cheap, fragile toy. So what changed? Why is there this sudden, massive interest in drones that we see today? Well, it's a combination of government and private sector innovation. Flight controllers from NASA, GPS from the US Navy, miniaturized sensors like many of us have in our smartphones, high resolution, tiny digital cameras, and all that combined with battery innovation and model aircrafts have formed the modern drone as we know it today. And a lot of people ask, well, what's the right drone for our needs? And there is no single drone that's perfect for every application. They're very specialized. And it's about finding the right drone for you. Kind of like asking, well, what's the right car? Well, for someone that's got a family of 5, you might want a minivan. If you're just a single person, maybe a little compact hatchback is great. So likewise, if you are the government and you're doing military applications, you might want to throw down a cool 100 million for Global Hawk from Northrop Grumman. That'll fly for about 28 hours and could fly at almost 360 miles per hour. Or if you're just snapping a couple of pictures and some video, a Phantom Vision from DJI for a little over $1,000 is perfect. You can do photographs, and it's perfect kind of light amateur hobbyist application. So it really just depends what you're trying to achieve with the drone, what you're trying to capture, and what business purpose it's going to serve. And we're seeing early applications in real estate, in sports, in movies, and TV commercials, all these things where before the only way to capture that aerial overhead view was actually to get a helicopter out there, get a plane out there. And now, instead of paying the huge cost for a pilot and the fuel and logistics and all that, if you want to get that overhead view, you can just send the drone up, get it, nice, quick, and easy. And likewise, we're starting to see them for deliveries. Amazon is doing testing. Flirty in Australia, there's several different companies experimenting with how they can actually automate the delivery process. It's probably going to be a long time before we see refrigerators and weight sets delivered by drone, but if you're just getting a DVD or a t-shirt, it can make a lot of sense. So how are drones benefiting your specific industry? Well, you may be in mining, in construction, oil and gas, agriculture, landfills, mapping, surveying, engineering. We've already heard from many of you just in your early questions today. And there's kind of unique benefits to each one of these industries. I'll be going through them in detail as we talk about the ROI, but the kind of catch-all is in all of these, you have a constant need for fresh, accurate project and job site data. And traditionally, you've had to either pay a huge expense for aerial surveys, again, paying for jet fuel, paying for pilots, paying for the logistics of getting the flights out there, or you've had to do manual surveys with survey teams, which can be dangerous if they're dodging heavy equipment on job sites, and can be still expensive, maybe $1,000 a day for a two-man team, and slow, where if it's a 100-acre job site, it may take a month to capture all the data. And on a fast-moving job site, by the time you get month-old data, it's wrong. The job site's changed. It's no longer accurate. So with all of these, what we're able to provide is very, very fast turnaround, almost real time. So you actually can affordably know where your job site is today, where it was yesterday, and forecast where it's going to be tomorrow. So kind of that continuous tracking, so you can catch problems early, pivot and adjust so you're not sinking time and resources into them, share that data with all your stakeholders for project management, share it with your customers, your clients, and just increase communications, move more quickly, operate more efficiently. And but yeah, we'll get deeper into that. So the reason that all this is important is because project management is really hard. The reason that most projects do tend to run late or above the expected budget is not because people are bad at their jobs. It's because project management on large construction and energy and mining projects is almost impossible. I've been on these job sites. Some of them are thousands of acres. You can't possibly know what's going on at every single part of it. You can't even see the whole thing at once. And across that, you may have teams of dozens or hundreds of contractors all working on independent pieces of the project. And, largely they're still managed the same way today that they were managed 20 years ago. You have a manager walking the site with a clipboard, taking notes with rolled up paper blueprints, and all the stakeholders have to physically visit the job site to check progress. And as we said before, aerial overhead data, even though it's really helpful, it's only rarely captured, maybe once a quarter, sometimes even once a year, just because it's so expensive to actually get that aerial data. So what that leads to is a real difficulty making fast, informed decisions because you don't have consistent site visibility. You're not able to capture the updates that you want and that you need. And when you do get data, it's usually old, which means if the site's changing, that it's wrong. So that leads to inefficiency because expensive contractors and rental equipment often goes unused due to bottlenecks that could have otherwise been prevented had the information been available. Can lead to project delays, waiting for customers to get out to the site to approve portions of work and release funds for the next section. Can lead to low profits. Sometimes when projects go over budget, it actually comes directly out of the construction company's profits. And we've talked to so many of our customers who before us, maybe they thought a project was going to be really profitable. But then by the time they finished, they realized that there was either no margin or in some cases they even lost money. So with us, you can actually track your profitability every single step of the way. If you're doing earth moving, you know exactly what you're paying for every cubic yard move, exactly what that's costing you. And that's just a level of visibility that it's literally never been possible before in industry. And then last, if you don't have this data, if you don't have real-time consistent tracking on what your progress is on the site, can lead to lost customers because customers who experience disappointments on their projects may not use you again. They may stop mid-project, or in some cases, they may even file lawsuits. So what are the benefits of drones? Well, we give you job site visibility. It's very accurate. It's comparable to standard aerial data. It's automatic. You can literally capture your 3D job site updates at the push of a button. It's near real time. If you're tracking a 100-acre site, it might take you about 10 minutes to get, as opposed to, you're basically getting your data back in minutes, not months, and it's completely secure. So who are we? Identified Technologies offers the easiest way to track industrial projects. We work with leaders in energy, construction, excavation, mining, and engineering. The reason that they trust and use our tool is because manual tracking is slow inaccurate, dangerous, and costly. And we offer world's only automatic EDAS, which is end-to-end drone as a service subscription. And we'll get more into that later, but basically it includes a total integrated system with flight planning, the drone itself, the software, the processing, analytical tools that were all scratch built to seamlessly interact perfectly together and give you exactly what you need. And we are proudly headquartered in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I know we got a Steelers fan in the audience, so go Steelers. And we proudly serve clients around the world, whether you are an Eagles fan or a Browns fan, we're still happy to do business with you, and we have love for all. So we're currently proud to work with many of the NR 400's top leaders, including COOs, working with Mascaro, EQT, PJ Dick, Seneca Resources, and Americold. So again, across the earth moving and excavation, demolition, construction, and energy sectors. We're approved ISN contractors. That's IS Net World. We have a Better Business Bureau rating of A+. We have complete $5 million general liability insurance coverage, and we're proud to be the fastest growing drone company on the East Coast. So just a few things, and we've recently been written up in Inc., Forbes, New York Times. So if you want to learn more about us, feel free to click on our news link at the very top, and hopefully after this presentation, because I'm keeping you so engaged, and you can learn more about what the press is saying. So here's just some graphics. This is straight out of our software. So this is right what you would see if you're logged into our site IQ, and some of the advanced automatic surveying and mapping you can get. A lot of people think all you can get with drones is some photos, some videos, and with kind of little hobbyist toy drones, that's true. But with our technology, you can actually, at the push of a button, capture in that first one 3D volumetric analysis, which means that if you want to know what your stockpile is, if you want to know maybe how much inventory you have on an aggregate site, if you want to know how much earth you moved last week, you can see that. You can track entire regions collectively. You can do all that right in our software. We do contour mapping, orthomosaic overlays, and you can also do as-built versus as-planned blueprint overlays. So you can make sure that the project is proceeding exactly as planned, and if there is any conflict, catch it early. We also let you monitor progress reports and cut and fill tracking with heat maps, and securely share your data and export it in all major file formats. On the bottom right there, you see an earthwork progress chart, and this is actually showing how the cut and fill are progressing over time as you slowly are moving towards your final endpoint. And we're currently testing a ton of new sensor technology for the near future, including NDVI, or Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, particularly useful for agriculture, thermal imaging, sense and avoid technology, gas detection and methane, and multispectral cameras. So how are we different than alternatives? So we've talked a little bit about this. With a plane or a helicopter, it's very, very expensive, and it still takes a fair amount of time to actually book it. We've talked to many clients who their aerial survey company works with a bunch of their competition in the region, so they won't even come out until they have 4 or 5 other competitors that also need a job, and then they'll come out and hit everybody. So it can easily be several weeks from when you book the flight till you actually get them. It doesn't take long to gather the data, but then it might be a few more weeks till they process it. And in the end, you're looking at least a couple months before from the time you book the flight to actually get your data back. With a manned survey team, they're usually more responsive, but it's the same deal. Can easily be $1,000 a day. Maybe it takes 20 work days to cover a 100-acre site, and then maybe a month to gather the data, a few weeks to process the data. You're still looking at a few months. And if you are progressing on that job site, by the time you get the data back, it is no longer correct. So what's different about us? You can fly as much as you want, not annually, not quarterly, not monthly. If you want, you can fly daily or even hourly. You have unlimited updates with a low-cost monthly subscription, and 100-acre job site basically takes a few minutes to fly and capture the data. So if you're like most industrial companies, you already know that drones are the future. You see that, but you might not be sure where to start. So you can sort through dozens of commercial drones, but there's so many out there, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. And if you do want to kind of create your own in-house drone solution, because that is an option, there's a few things that you're going to have to manage on your own. You're going to have to deal with all the FAA regulations. You're going to have to deal with all the pilot training and paperwork. You're going to have to source and set up and maintain the software, the hardware, the processing equipment, the storage and management equipment, the analytics, and then the team to maintain that. You're going to have to take on the risk and insurance, both of the drone itself and the drone operations, if something should happen. And even if no one's injured in a crash, it can easily be $50,000 to replace the high quality drone. So those are some of the things that you'll need to sort of manage in-house if you want to do it internally. And this is sort of what the common in-house drone mapping process looks like. So you need to lay out your KML with your map perimeter. You need to lay your ground control points, create and upload your flight plan. You'll fly the drone. You'll geotag the data, transfer the data, process the data, store and manage the data, and finally, you can analyze and collaborate with your team. But with Identified, we've really tried to cut out all the unnecessary steps and automate them so you can just get right to what you need. So for us, you upload your flight plan, you push a button, and the mapping drone, the boomerang, will automatically fly, capture the data, and come back. The data is uploaded and processed, and then you can access and analyze your job site. And then you can use that information to have really high impact, useful project management insights. So there's a value in getting that work. You are showing your clients tech leadership, you're standing out from the competition, you're saving money versus alternatives, you're getting the data that you need to do the work right, and you're completing that work more efficiently, improving your team and customer communications, and providing more fast and accurate QA. And finally, you can sort of market and showcase your work better with these records. So let me get to what the real ROI of drone mapping is. So that's kind of the meat of our presentation today. So the question is, great, drones are cool, but what kind of real difference is it going to make to my business? So as we've discussed, the truth is old survey data is incorrect survey data. If it's old and it's a fast-moving job site, then the data is wrong by the time you get it. And if historically that job site data is captured by survey teams measuring the site on foot, then it's going to be a very slow and potentially dangerous, potentially tedious process. And today, a mapping drone can capture that same data that would take a month to capture on foot. It can capture it with our technology in a few minutes at a much lower cost, and can be tracking it not every quarter, every month, but if you want, every day. The greatest value comes from the benefits realized by analyzing that near real-time data stream. The autonomous workflow from flight to Nmap product can be very, very brief. You can easily fly that morning and then have all the data processed and see the results before you leave the office. Make real-time decisions. And that real-time data is essential. As we've talked about, if it's old, it's wrong. And by having real-time data available, our customers can know exactly what equipment is needed on site at any given time. They can forecast better if they have their own equipment fleet, how to operate and who needs what when. You can bring the job site data to stakeholders instead of dealing with the delay and expense of bringing them out to the job site. We were just talking with an architecture firm based in Pittsburgh who is flying out every single week to California to check progress on a building that they had designed. They're flying out every single week from the East Coast to the West Coast and back again. And with our technology, they're actually going to be able to just have the updates brought to them. They'll be able to see it from their desktop and save a huge amount of time and expense. And of course, just in general, having this data lets you avoid project bottlenecks that make for Avoiding those bottlenecks makes for happy customers and boosts the client's ROI. Being able to catch problems early means that you're not investing time and people and money and equipment into doing things the wrong way. And if you can catch a mistake within a few hours or even a day instead of a month down the road, then you can save weeks or months of time over the course of a large project. It also lets you track trends. And by spotting trends, a company can determine if a project is running on schedule or if it will need more resources to meet a deadline. Finding errors sooner allows construction companies to add days back to their schedule, boosting the ROI. So that means what would have normally taken you 12 months, maybe you finish in 11, and now you have a whole extra month of revenue that you can do, a whole extra month of projects that you can take on and gross. And we know that in all these industrial businesses, schedule is everything, and it directly impacts the company's margin. We did a project for COOs recently where a single piece of equipment they were using, a rock crusher, cost them $5,000 every single day to run, not even including the personnel to operate it. And they had to have it out on the site, but using our technology, they were able to know exactly how long they were going to need it, avoid bottlenecks, optimize their usage of it, and return it sooner. And by returning it even a few days sooner, they're automatically saving tens of thousands of dollars. And knowing where you're at on a project not only reduces rental and labor related expenses, it also allows more projects to complete it on time. We talked about problems being caught early and cutting the weeks off your construction timeline, as well as finishing projects earlier so you can do more projects in a year, adds more money to both your top and your bottom lines. Building and scaling your own internal drone mapping program can cost millions of dollars when you include the legal fees, the processing center, the hardware, the software, and the staff. And then what happens when the drone or the software crash and the individual manufacturers are pointing fingers at each other? With us, it's just a proprietary integrated system. We support every aspect of it to guarantee you're always flying. And if anything breaks, we'll fix it for free. There's also no upfront CapEx or heavy usage impact to your cash flow, since we only charge for the period you're using it. You don't have to worry about your equipment going obsolete because our dedicated team is constantly rolling out upgrades to the hardware and software, and you always have the most cutting edge technology available. We have a whole team of Carnegie Mellon robotics staff that all they do all day is figure out how to get this even better, even lighter, even longer flight times, even more accurate, new technology, new ways to analyze your job site. And that's all they think about from when they get up in the morning to when they go to sleep at night. So you're in really, really good hands. In terms of what the ROI is for different industries, again, they all go back to that same idea of knowing what's really happening on the job site, tracking every step of the way. So in mining, who it's going to mean a lot to is the CFO, who now, instead of being surprised at their once a year annual aerial survey to find out that they have a lot less inventory on hand than they thought they did, and thus are worth a lot less on paper, and thus are going to have some bad news to report to the board. Now they're getting daily or weekly updates to know exactly accurately where they're at each step. So there's no surprises, and they can plan their books accordingly. If it's maybe a VP of sales for aggregate, now they don't have to over or underestimate to hedge. Because right now, because it's very difficult to know exactly what you have at any given moment, maybe you say, well, we're only going to say we have 90% of the inventory that we think we have. Well, that means that you're, by definition, losing out on 10% of the profits you could get by sales. But if you do miss, now you're having to either disappoint the customer and maybe lose them, or at great expense have to bring that inventory in from another job site. So either way, it's lose-lose. But with us, you always know what you really have in real time. If you are in construction, let's say earth moving, or in mining in an earth moving, we let you track and optimize your progress on those earth moving projects every step of the way. We can also empower you to track your profitability every step of the way, so you really know what your cost per cubic yard is. For a company like Seneca Resources and Energy or EQT, if you're in oil and gas doing impoundment ponds or pipelines, you have a constant need for data. It never, ever stops, especially with all the regulatory demands out there. And we give you a way to now accurately cover huge amounts of land and always have that new, updated, fresh, accurate data just with the push of a button. If you're in landfills, you can only build the landfill up to the top area of the cell. And you want to maximize that usage. You don't want to sort of have underutilized capacity, but you can't exceed it. So what ends up happening is you're having to have constant aerial surveys, just nonstop at a huge expense. And with us, you can capture that same data, maximize the utility of your cell, but do it very affordably and with no stress. And then for just an example for engineering, we're working now proudly with the ARM group, and they're using us in a few different ways. They're able to differentiate themselves from their competition. They, as tech leaders, using the most cutting edge technology, it gives them a reason to use them, because now they don't have to sign up with ARM group and use an outside aerial survey group. They can offer everything as a one-stop shop. They're able to profit by white labeling our services. So they charge to collect surveys and just pocket the profit. And it lets them upcharge for follow-on services. So they take the data that they collect, and then they're then able to get new business off of it, whether it's engineering work related to energy or earth moving, whatever it is. They take that initial survey data, and now they can get new jobs based on that. So those are just a few little examples of the different ways people are benefiting with identified technologies. And we talked before about that there's no CapEx with it. It's not like if you're building your own internal system, when you might have to sink in a few $1 million if you want to scale before you get anything from it. With us, in some cases, clients are seeing survey and related savings of up to 90%. And that's thanks to the increased speed and accuracy of their mapping data. And that can represent millions of dollars in savings for many jobs, not even to mention the avoided injuries and early detection of problems. So drones can easily pay for themselves after just the first few weeks of use. Real-time data gathering through the use of drones helps you gain a reputation as a cost-conscious technology leader, and it makes you more attractive to potential new clients as you're able to profitably underbid the competition because you work more efficiently. And there's no hidden costs. Like we said, if anything goes wrong, we fix it for free. There's no upfront CapEx, and you're not actually paying per flight. There's just a flat monthly fee. So you know exactly what it's going to cost. And if you have a particularly busy month, you're not going to get hit with any penalties or any expenses because of it. Fortunately, the FAA just enacted the Part 107 rules, meaning that now anybody can get can very easily obtain a commercial pilot's license and use a drone. So even though with our system, all you have to do is push a button, you do still have to get the certification, but it's an easy 2-hour test. And we walk you through it. We have our own internal training materials designed by our chief pilot, who has about 2 decades of aviation experience. And we've already trained up a whole team of customers. And I believe as of today, every single person has actually passed the test on their first try using our resources. So all that is just included. We hold your hand every step of that process. And this is really appealing because now instead of having to have some outside contractor come out to your site, maybe a 5 or 6 hour drive just to be there, and then if they come out and the weather's bad, then they have to wait maybe a day until it's there. You're paying for hotels, you're paying for gas, you're paying for transportation. Now your team, whenever they want to survey, can just go out and hit the button. There's no extra expenses, there's no hidden costs, there's no logistical issues. We completely empower you. And again, this is a tool that is yours as long as you're subscribed with us. The drone is going to live on your job site in the back of your flatbed truck, and anytime you want to get fresh updated data, you push the button, The drone gathers it, and you're good to go. So the pre-programmed drone, like we said, you're getting mapping at the push of a button. Inclement weather isn't an issue. And all of this takes complexity out of the process and adds dollars to your bottom line. So if you are interested in the 107, I'm just going to run you real quick through what the onboarding process looks like. So not only do we help you through the 107 exam, so after you pass the exam, we make sure you're set up. We train you in how to use the boomerang drone itself. Again, push the button. It's not too hard, but we make sure you know where the button is. We walk you through your first flights, how to analyze and interpret the data, and help you rev up adoption in your organization. Again, holding your hand every step of the way. We'll start out with an initial conversation and setup. After we learn your needs, you have best-in-class support, access to our online resource center filled with everything you need, answering any related questions, as well as just hands-on. You can call us anytime, email us anytime. And then we're basically there to make sure that you're really successful and you're getting all the value you can out of the data, and that we're always improving the software and hardware to get you the next thing that's going to help you and really riding on the cutting edge of the technology. So I use Identify Technologies. We're going to help you maximize your new bids won, your jobs completed per year, your profit on every job, improve stakeholder collaboration, and client satisfaction. And we're going to help you minimize billing reconciliation delays while you're waiting maybe 2 weeks for the client to actually get out there to approve the work. We're going to minimize surprise project costs, overwork and rework, mass haul costs, equipment and labor costs, contractor injuries, late and over budget projects, regulatory and technology costs, and setup time and problems. So again, the big four are: we're going to help you win more bids, track and increase profitability, assure quality, and retain and satisfy your clients. If you remember nothing else, that's what we're all about. So with that, I want to thank you very, very much for your time. And then just open it up for audience Q&A. I don't know everything, but I'll do my best to answer it. And if there's something I can't help you with, then I'll refer you to our crack team of drone experts. So if you haven't yet, please take a moment, sign in for the Q&A. There's a little box right under the webinar video. And I also want to take a minute to give you a free offer. So we select and offer a free month of automatic drone surveying to people that fill out a survey, and you'll have a chance to win. If you go to the very bottom of the page, it says it says get free aerial drone mapping. There's a link for that in the very bottom under links. So if after this presentation is over, you want to give that a quick click, all that's going to do is help us learn a little more about your needs, about how we can make this technology even better to cater to your specific needs. And with that, you have a chance to win potentially a whole month of free surveying and see if our technology might be a good fit for you. So with that, I'll go back and see if there's some questions for us. So in terms of the accuracy, there's actually a little bit of a range. We can, in some cases, like in some aggregate fields, they actually don't need it to be hyper accurate, and they'd rather have the flight be that much faster. But we can fly low and slow and get to about an inch accuracy. So it just depends a little bit. Tree cover can affect it, but that's about where we can get. And yeah, we would have to know a little bit more about the specifics of your job, but it's certainly comparable to anything you would ever get from a standard aerial survey. And actually, on that note, we used a third-party verification firm called Spatial Analytics to compare our accuracy to standard aerial. And if you're interested in that, I would suggest after this webinar is over, click on Resources at the top of our page. And then there's a whole case study on how drone accuracy compares to standard aerial. So that'll actually show you the real third-party verified side-by-side data, and you'll see that it's basically completely comparable. In terms of how it does in tree cover, Not great, honestly. And to be clear, we don't consider ourselves, and there is nothing out there that's a replacement for surveyors. We're a tool that surveyors and project managers can use to gather large amounts of data um, very quickly and very accurately. But if you have intense, dense tree cover, standard aerial isn't going to be able to get through that, and LiDAR isn't going to be able to get through that. So there are still going to be situations where you'll definitely want to use a manned survey team. So we do have data comparing us versus standard aerial. We don't necessarily have a ton of data comparing us with a ground survey crew, but what I can tell you is often the ground survey crews are just gathering a data point maybe every few feet. You may have a few hundred or a few thousand at the end of a project. With us, you're gathering data, you're getting millions of data points. So, I mean, I can definitely refer you to resources showing kind of how much more data you're getting and how much more accurate it is. So JPS, do you offer an online, he said to y'all, but in Pittsburgh we would say yins. So do yins offer an online all-inclusive study guide to the 107 exam? If not, does anyone? And yeah, we absolutely do. So included with signing up for us, we're going to get you trained. We take total responsibility for that. Again, every single person that's attempted our training process has passed on the first try. So we got a good track record. And it's totally comprehensive, everything you need to know. And in truth, even if someday you decide, you know what, you're going to build your own program, you want to use some other technology, the 107 training that's required and license that's required is the same. So we're still going to be getting you up to speed for whatever comes. And it is completely all-inclusive, and there's no extra fee for it. It's just included with signing up with us. So good question, JP. And I would love to hear a little bit more about what specific applications our guests are considering using this for, so I can maybe answer, if it's a good fit for us or if not. And I would say if this has been exciting for you and you're interested in learning more, please, after this webinar is over, go down and fill out the opportunity to win some free drone surveying, because by doing that, again, you might win a free month of drone surveying, and it really helps us know how we can make the technology even better for you. And please click the try demo in the top right. You can sign up, and one of our drone advisors are very happy to just take you through the software. I can talk all day about how great it is, but you'll actually be able to see it, interact with it, and whether you're in mining or engineering or earth moving, see those real job sites and exactly the data that you can extract from it, and how you're going to be able to track your real profitability and optimize your workflows based on that. So guest 6195 just asked, do you have to shut down a construction site to fly over it? And do you need a waiver to fly over people? So we fly over job sites all the time. We don't have to shut down the construction site to fly over it. And our drones are very safe. And it might not be clear from the photos on our website, but our drones are actually really small, because all we're trying to do is capture the data. And we can do that with a fairly small sensor. So our drones weigh under 5 pounds, propeller to propeller, they're about a foot. So it's not like having a helicopter sort of flying over your job site. And we've never had anybody injured or hurt or anything like that. So I want to invite you to get your last few questions out. And if you think that this webinar was helpful, or that it might be relevant to other people you know or work with or other people in your company, I'm going to be sending out a link to the recording first thing tomorrow morning. So I'd ask if you could please share that to people that you think would be interested. That's very helpful for us and hopefully helpful for them. And there's also a white paper right below the video. So where it says view white paper PDF, you can download that, you can share that link around, and it'll you'll be able to sort of share some of the insights of today's presentation with people that maybe couldn't be here in person. So I want to be respectful of your time. You've been a great audience. So guest 4435 asked if we use LiDAR. And so we actually started out looking at LiDAR, and we declined because LiDAR is accurate, but it's very, very heavy, and it's very power hungry. And that is those are the two worst things that you could possibly have on a drone, because on a drone, it's all about battery life and efficiency. So what we actually have, our sensor is comparable to LiDAR. It's been, again, tested by third parties to be completely comparable to it, but it's much more energy efficient and much lighter. So that just gives us longer flight times. So that's why you're able to capture, 100 acres in a few minutes, instead of having to basically stop every few minutes to bring the drone back and swap out a new battery. So anyway, guest 9472 says, thanks for all the information, and same for Minex. So honestly, I love talking to you guys. Really good active questions today. Really smart. So I appreciate the participation from the audience. I want to thank all of you so much for your time. I know you're all busy, and just ask again if you can share the white paper and the recording around to your departments and the team that I think will get the most out of it. We really appreciate that, and we'll do everything we can to make sure they have a great experience. And if you want to learn more and see the software in action, see the actual data and insights that you'll be able to pull from it, then just click Try Demo, and you can sign up for a quick free walkthrough. So thank you all so much for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your week.